So I'm going to give you a quick little introduction. Of course, I thought everybody's in different levels and things, and so if I say things that are already know, then forgive me like that. But one of the things I wanted to talk about really quickly is, we're obviously, this is all we do is finish projects. So you want to finish with us. We manage the whole color process from acquisition through delivery as a workflow, which means that I often create the look for the show before maybe they even shoot anything. So we do that look development process. We sometimes provide those to the DIT for rendering on set or near set, or we do the dailies ourselves here at our one of two locations. We also, once the edit is locked or they know what shots are going to be in there for the VFX, we pull the VFX plates. Very important that your final DI facility does that. We have very precise ways we like to work the color pipeline, the color spaces we work in, the color management that goes in all that. Super important, because what ends up happening is we work with, let's say, often the case of a VFX vendor that we weren't involved with, we weren't pulling the plates. It just comes to us after everything's done and they say, here's the edit and here's our VFX shots, make our film look good. And then we get into those sequences, and the dynamic range of those shots have been clipped and crushed. Details have been lost, resolution has been lost, and lots of times it is the case. Lots of various different challenges that take place. And then we end up literally either recomping their VFX in the grading system at the last 11th hour, like literally, which means like taking, maybe there was a shot or with a CGI wolf, and the background, I was grading this scene, and everything looks great and beautiful and dynamic. And as soon as they went to the CGI wolf, the whole background plate basically became soft and focused, the footage became soft and focused comparatively to the original plate material. There, I often have the original material and the comp, and I can see what they did and how they mucked it up in the color or in that process. And so I'm a stickler for quality, and I want the end result for the audience to be stunning and amazing. So that is, we will go back and fix those things. If we were pulling the plates and managing the color pipeline, that wouldn't be the case. So we wouldn't have to try to dumb it down, which means like make everything around it look really the same and not as good, or we just have to redo that shot essentially in one way or another. I'm gonna just play a quick little clip for you, if I may. good enough for now.
Okay.
Just to jump into some stuff because it's pretty cool here. I'm gonna this is shots. This is like your dailies. This is just a LUTed version of it, but that's came off without any grade itself. And I'm gonna kind of like just this is from a film that was actually shot over like in Mongolia, and they kind of like just show you a little bit of how I would build this a little bit here.
You know what it was shot on?
It was shot on Alexa, so it's Ari Raw actually. And I'm just kind of like start like, let me see here. I did this a little while ago, so I'm going to kind of give you you'll see ultimately the style and the look that I'm going for here as I try to like. There you go. So we're kind of basically giving it a nice, really. This is obviously a part of the film that is not every part of the film is going to be very dramatic and dark and unhappy as it is this one would be. But these are just some pretty cool things that we get to play with, some detailed looks. Sometimes we don't always get to do that, but here is a very dramatic feel that we get to do here in this section. And the same what I like to say about basically that is our canvas, and we're doing kind of this visual score for it to be able to meet the emotional tones and arcs for that. And so what we're doing is both art and science, and the art of it is to kind of it's like if you did a music session, we're just basically trying to find exactly what the film wants to be. And I think the footage tells you that largely. So many people who have worked with me in the room, and they can attest. It's like their vision by watching the screener, seeing what they're doing, and then beginning with a consultant, a spotting session, so to speak. We determine what that is going to be. And it's very much a collaborative process between me, the DP, and the director, ultimately trying to figure that stuff out. And the film is not always going to be at one level. So, for example, we have, that section was very in this particular film, but this is a very epic film, and we have, then. A much more normal world. It's more bright and cheery and stuff like that, or doing slight time to day changes, or just really enhancing what we're seeing here. I'm gonna let's see here. Let's tune on the shape too, and there we go. Add a little bit of definite sky like that in grad. So basically kind of working with your DP, knowing how they can extend what they do on set with us, so that they don't have to waste time maybe trying to put a grad in everything and realize that you can get things like that, or changing things time of day for night kind of things, to just another look that we will work on to do and develop and work with that. And let's see here.
Isn't that Bond?
No, this is not Bond.
Oh, I thought that was the beginning.
So then, the style and look to things with interior and shaping, lighting, doing beauty work with faces like that as an extension of what I was doing there. Working with the like the lab, because we're the lab, so that's the digital film process, or just like working and bringing the drama into the shots. Often is the case, or let's see here. You'll see that you can do lots of great things with. Let's see here. A little. Let's see. Bringing down. Maybe some just fixing things, or specifically, we'll just kind of like this right here, and we'll specifically grab a face. And here, we'll get some extra light into the face, or something like that. Like the shot would be more backlit, so that we needed to get some more light into that. Bring some sky down into it as well. A little bit of make some beautiful skies and things in there. So let's see, put the face back up in there. So you can, there's lots of things you can do so we start basically designing the look for the film. Very, let's see here. That's for later. There's a face. And some reach to sky, give the overall even look that we're going to do to things, and really kind of punch it up and get it into some beautiful colors and stuff like that as well. So that, now let's go into a different film, and every film collaborative process is a little bit different. And the director on this one was super, like, just loved everything we're going to do, so he literally didn't change a frame. I did, and it was kind of fun for me because I was able to just do what I wanted to do with it. And sometimes there's always a shot when you start working on a film that is the first shot you want to look at and design your look of the film around it, and you start playing with that. So this is one of those shots that probably the first shot I ever graded on this film. This is the film that I was got a nomination, HPA nomination for a little while back, and so I'll kind of like start building this as I did before. So kind of the first thing is kind of maybe a contrast layer, and just getting some improvement there of that, and then see if this will work here to that one and the shape for that. So she's in this window area here, so I want to do, and when you have the time, you know, sometimes in indie films we're only given a short number of days, but if we have a little bit more time, we can spend more time with it. So this is going to just kind of be an example of the level of detail you can go into on shots if given the time. And so I'm going to go ahead and, oops, there we go. This is going to be knocking down that, so you can basically flag things as well. And then we did this as a shape right here, just to kind of bring down the inside the window versus the outside of the window. And then specifically, you need to do a little bit of work on the skin. So I wanted to like give her a beautiful complexion, so you can actually isolate the skin right here, and then give her a little bit more paintedly look, and also reduce some of the saturations and things that we didn't want in there. So just working on her skin tone. Overall, we also needed to work on our look. This is a little basically too yellow, so I specifically wanted to pull back and put a lot of blues into it, and then kind of just make it like that. Then one more other thing we're going to do is I'm just going to loop this shot here is going, you know, just one overall detail is that's all looking really pretty good, but she actually has blue eyes that were kind of, and it's getting lost in there. And she comes through this area. So I'm going to show you this little thing here. So we can do, actually, hold on, turn these on. There's her eyeballs now. These are like painted things, and so this is all done in DI. None of this is actually visual effects. So her eyes will reveal, and then so when I go ahead and actually turn that on, let's see here, I can actually bring up the whites or the blues of her eyes, and we can make it whatever we want to do here. There we go. And it gives a little more life into the eyes and stuff like that as well. Just a nice little overall painted process to go from kind of your, which are, admittedly, I don't know what happened to their dailies or how they shot this, but it's called, it now looks like that. So same thing too. The next shot, which was really the design for the feel of the look of the film, was this shot as well. And you know, I'll park right there and kind of show you what that looks like. Let's see here. So I approach a shot by often doing the base grade first, the look and the base grade, which kind of go together. But the look is basically, think of it as like film print emulation. It's the design of how I'm going to maybe tweak hues around. You know, is it a Kodak stock? Is it a black and white stock? You know, kind of things that are like lab post processing things. And then there's also the actual like adjusting the photography, where you like work with a DP and be like, I just brought in my system color. I can actually adjust things by like truly photometrically accurate to be like, oh, this is 1.2 stops down from what was originally shot. And then obviously added some contrast and stuff like that in there. So that was a good place to start. Once again, given level of detail with things, I can go, you know what, I want to, and I did this in HDR, so I wanted to grab these the fire. You can see how I bring a little bit more color into detail of the highlight of the fire there, just so it's not so white or washed out, which actually really works, especially in Dolby Vision HDR. This is obviously, we're in a theater, so you're not going to quite see this much, but the whites of those fires would be intense, and we want to get the color of the white or color of the yellows in the fires there. We have, let's see, sometimes we need to do some shading of light, so we want to do a grad on the top here as well, so we just kind of bring that down separately like that. We need a little more lighting as well, just focus where we want to do, so we'll then go ahead and add a vignette to the side and then bring up the middle as well. And so like, you go like, what else is wrong with this image? What else can we do? Well, that blood's getting a little bit lost there as well, so let's go ahead and grab that and bring up the color into blood and get some light into that so you can actually see that in this case. And then we have, she's wearing a lot of, or she has a lot of skin there, and we want to make that, grab her skin and bring that up as well, and give her some like light and smoothing, and just kind of make that look really pretty. And so you can do stuff like that. Just all the little levels of detail ultimately add to the whole total shot. So,
I have a question.
yes.
In a shot like this, is there something that you could, is there a conversation you could have with the cinematographer to say, if you'd have shot it, let it like this, we could have saved these steps in this time in post, or is this a total creative decision after the fact kind of thing? Do you ever have those?
Yeah.
You and I have had those conversations, but.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of those things is that thing when if they were shooting some tests or something like that, and I actually designed a showlet for them, and they were to then like for the Arri, like say I have a film that's shooting on the new Arri camera, the S35, that is using the Arri look file 4 format, things like that. So I could essentially, and actually did that here. Let me just jump over to the example for you on this scene end, click back. So this right here, and I'm gonna take everything kind of like off, and like basically give the I give them, this is kind of like give them this, the load into the camera, or that with a combination with this as well, so that they can pre-visualize that better and monitor it on set and light to that. And this DP finds that extremely useful, so that we, that showlet is then going into all of the dailies and it's going into that. And so it helps them to visualize that and make creative decisions earlier in the process rather than like afterthought. So and then we do that extension of how there's things like it would take too much time for him to try to figure out how to flag and light all these different things around it, especially on sometimes you're asked to color or shoot films in 20 days or whatever it may be. Sometimes you don't have that level of time, so it's good to know where you can extend that into DI and what you can accomplish in the DI. But it's also useful for it to go backwards the other way, where you can provide the look into the camera itself while you're shooting, so that you're, even if it's a subtle like thing, the idea for this film was to kind of have a little bit of this cool tones and blue technical like look and stuff like that, basically to take, you can see what's happening with the cyans and the greens, but then the rich skins and stuff like that too. So they can kind of art direct and light all that and manage that appropriately on set. So similarly to is this same thing external, like when a director comes to me and is designing how they want their film to look, having still frames about like what from maybe other movies, a shot deck, so to speak, or something that's an example of that, of what they might want to achieve, then they give that to me, and then I would design it, and I designed this look before they actually even shot anything, and then provide that to them. And that helps them to like know what it's ultimately really going to look like. And then we have a more successful end result where the director at the end is like, that's exactly what I was thinking when I was wanting the vision, and it got exactly what I wanted. So the whole process and it's this collaborative process between the DP and the director. To that same end, sometimes we get to add a little bit of like fun stuff here, like just where is it here? And we'll be real done here in just a second. Not that one. This one probably. Yeah. So just throwing a little extra like light to sell something into there because it just was feeling a little bit too flat or something like that. So this idea is she pans up to her in this warning light, and so we'll just go ahead and this is the actual shot as shot, and then we'll go ahead and you'll see that there is a little bit of a flare there, but we can kind of enhance and create the color of the flare, and that's nicely just and it's not like we're not adding visual effects of any kind. It's just in DI because it's just basically this nice little shape, and I can go ahead and to call adjust any of this kind of thing, move this around. So it'd be like where you want that to be, how you want to come up with the dynamic of that, and that kind of a thing. So
where's the technology now regarding like filtration? Like, would you have a preference? You were talking to a DP. Would you say, hey, if you want to go ahead and put a quarter black pro mist on there, that's fine, or I can do that in post? I mean,
yeah.
Where are we with that?
Actually, a lot, believe it or not. So let me kind of like, there's this thing called texture highlight, and that creates this bloomy, like I can make this really kind of push. Look at, see what happens here, like this, like this is really great when we do a lot of HDR shows. Alex does this on pretty much a lot of his shows. Just a little bit of the softening and the frequencies at certain high ranges like that, as well as there's other things too, like as you saw I was doing some of that other skin things, but I don't have to do it in skin. I could do it in the overall, so you can kind of like, this is just a look itself like that. You can see how the texture of that is changing as well. So you can design. I'm pushing it kind of extreme for you to see, but yes, you can actually design a lot of that. Like the texture of the image is just as important as the color of the image. And so you'll see there are certain things in the reel might have been really crisp and clean, and or really hyper sharp or something like that. Sometimes we want to like create a very indie and like roll off the highlights of that, and basically maybe just pull, or softer highlights, or push things up, and that's also how those roll-offs and those things kind of work as well. And they're part of our design that we do is for the overall show look and look of it too. And then there's stuff like, they actually shoot this, like this is a drone shot. Drones clip out a lot, oftentimes. Even these are DJI log or DJI cinema DNG files. They were just going to leave this shot in there and just be like, okay, just color grade it, make it as good as you can, or something like that, and be like, but that's not really ultimately that great. So this is when you have integration of VFX in there very easily. I'll just be like, Connor, just replace my sky for me real quick and just give me a new thing like that. And so then I can go ahead and do that like that. And so little details like that. Super simple thing to do, quite frankly, but now it's fully replaced sky, and then we can still use this beautiful color and stuff like that there. So integrated that way. And let's see, this is that other shot you saw there. This is the final, like a final graded version of it here. Nice rich skin tones and things. This is, and we have this look. This is the actual look, the show for the thing. It was supposed to be rich and a little contrast and just a little bit warm and stuff like that there. And then there you go. And then we can see what's actually, whoops. There's the actual shot at dailies, but was color time. And here's something really cool about this is this. I will grade the shots, the film. This is the actual original camera footage, and then when the VFX come back, it's just a quick swap out, and the color is not exactly the same. So that's the whole point. When you have proper color pipelines, and our system for pulling plates and managing the color and all of that is super streamlined now, and it's really nice. So every shot that we do as a VFX shot is like that as well. Like, let's see, actually you can see, look at her face there, is the wrong version of it. And then we're going to be like, oh, okay, that's really, there we go. Now it's the actual colored version of that. And then there's sometimes things we get for free where they hated these cabinets back there because they were like that. Then they did this. Director had an idea that he wanted everything super yellow, and then they like test screened it, and they were like, what's the deal with all of the yellow? So, and every time they're in the kitchen, we actually had to take the cabinets and make them a lot more like pastel-y and like, this is sort of the texture. And we also add grain into all this good stuff. And so, this is the shot there. And so and because we have, you'll see that there's no, like the faces actually have a lot of yellow in them. And every time they're in this kitchen, because we actually already did the VFX and we basically painted their faces and roted their faces, then we got the ability to control the cabinets for free, essentially, because we already had the roto mats that we did for the VFX work. So, pretty cool stuff right there. Any other questions on anything? Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I noticed that your friend outside was mentioning you guys switched over from mostly using Baselight. For average, or like for a lot of people that might use like DaVinci Resolve, how do you guys find that Baselight helps you guys?
Good question.
Be nice now. Be nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I've used a number of systems. In fact, before I worked on Baselight, I graded on Resolve for a number of years. I graded on Dakota before that. I'm a 20-year veteran senior, colorist, all that kind of thing. There are lots of reasons why. That can be like a 40 or hours of conversation. The short of it was, one thing is when I was, it's an artist tool set. Okay, it's truly like the best premier grading system. There isn't a better grading system than that. Okay, it's basically $250,000 versus a free system. You're going to get something for that. The color management.
It's $300. It's not free.
Yeah, well, just about free. The color management, second to none. The way that we do things, how smart it is in that. The tools sets that don't break things and let you do things that like the very fine. I like to think of it as this. Resolve is basically a roller brush that you stencil, largely with shapes and keys. Keys aren't that great either. They're okay. Keying in here is phenomenal, kind of thing. I don't even do a lot of keys. I don't do a lot of destructive things because I can do it with I have like brushes that get smaller and smaller that allow me to control things like, roll off this or jab this or change the no secondaries. How we want to do things. Just a button, that kind of thing. Let's try to slightly do a slightly different look here. Let's just grab, and then let's say you want to pull down some yellow or just like the blues, maybe even better or something like that. So I'm in the wrong.
More like hue control and saturation control in general for like widescape rather than just like picking apart certain areas, you'd say?
Yeah, you don't have to do as many keys. You can grade faster, you can grade more efficiently, you can grade better, you have more control over different outputs and management of that. I can do Dolby Vision HDR and an SDR and a theatrical very, very easily, let's say. It never ends, kind of thing like that. It's just once you go that way, you never want to go back. Truthfully, we have both systems here, if it's a documentary, like a feature doc or something like that, it could be very easily done that way because you're not going to need some of those levels of details and things. There are some great workflow advantages that way. So it would depend on the job and what its workflow needs are. But if you're designing a very intense look or something like that, you want to do you can do it anything. Also, you have to do a lot of color management outside Resolve. So when I do use Resolve, I generally would do this. I would actually create the look for the show in Baselight and then bring that into Resolve. And then actually just use Resolve for my lift, gamma, gain, kind of like, balance and kind of like that kind of thing in that show. But I would design my look. And here, they have some tools specifically for generating the look so I can almost create any kind of film stock I ever want and control every aspect of it. It's not a black box. So I can make, take this hue to this, and basically make it anything, a Technicolor or this or that, and in a very intuitive way. So that's one of the reasons why. So, good question, though.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is the level of detail that we can just go to and do things on jobs. And so we want to ultimately we're here to help make your story look great. So I can do, let's see here. Just kind of like this, kind of right. But make your story look great on the big screen, little screen, all screens, and internet together. Okay? So thank you very much. That concludes our presentation. If there's anything you guys need, we're here to answer.